Cool.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Brokers of Nectar. I'm Jimmy Shepherd, Regional Manager for Nectar Mortgages Group, and today I have the honour of interviewing Amy, one of our brokers out of South Australia and part of the Nectar Broker Network. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to have a chat with you.
Thank you so much for coming, and particularly with mid-celebrations, a second birthday of Broker That, and what a journey you've had. I suppose on that conversation, talk us through that, the growth, what's happened. You've created your own brand, and I suppose what inspired you in the first place to become a mortgage broker?
Yeah, so it's been a huge 2 years, which I can't believe it's been 2 years. It feels like it has gone so quickly. But yes, I don't even know where to start on that. So I was completely new to industry as a broker and the finance industry as a whole. Prior to that, I was working in the not-for-profit industry, and I had just realized that I was ready to do something for myself. And we had moved from Brisbane to Adelaide, and so part of that was really unpacking what that looked like for me once I moved down here and what I was going to be doing career-wise. Finance was something I had always wanted to do, and I had signed up to do an accounting degree before I had left the UK in 2010, but I gave up that opportunity to move over to Australia. And yeah, when I was unpacking what would work look like for me, originally I started looking at businesses for sale in South Australia, and I stumbled across the Aussie Home Loan franchise, the Mortgage Choice franchise, and from there, I kind of fell down this hole of learning what those franchises looked like, what an aggregator looked like, what an aggregator was. I think I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah, launched my business, and I'm now 2 years old. We've just celebrated moving into our very first office, which is, yeah, very exciting.
That's an amazing journey and a huge achievement and accolade to you. So well done and
Yeah, thank you.
congratulations,
Yeah.
especially coming new to the industry and coming in and doing your research and going from there. You touched on a very important point there around aggregation and jargon. We'll talk about that a bit later, but definitely you're right. There's a lot to get your head around, and you've done an exceptional job. So well done, well done. Um, the story behind Broker That. So obviously, a memorable name reflects the approach to finance being, to the point and, as I said, less jargon. Where did the idea for the brand come from? And I suppose, what did you think through when you thought people would see it? And where did it come from, the colors and the branding, etc.?
Yeah, so it was actually completely different to what my original thought was behind what I wanted the brand to be.
Okay.
I originally went down the route of, thinking about family legacy, thinking about my name. I think I tried about 100 different variations of using my name, and they were all already taken. So it took me, I think it was about 3, 4 months of trying to come up with a name. And I had a book in the car, like a notepad that I had in the car. And every time I got in the car, I was like trying to brainstorm, and I was trying to think of things that I could call the business. And then I stopped thinking about what the name was and started thinking about what I wanted the business to be. I always have this saying that when you're sick, you go to the doctor. When your car's broken, you go to the mechanic. When you need a home loan, why do you try to do that yourself? You need to go to the broker. And I was kind of just having this conversation with myself, which is something that I do. I have conversations with myself all the time, and I'm having this conversation, it's playing out, and I'm like, you just need to broker that. And then as I said it, it kind of was like one of those light bulb moments where I was like, broker that. That is exactly what it needs to be.
Very nice. I like it. And also, don't be ashamed of that. I talk a lot to myself too, and I think anyone who's been self-employed or a director of a business, they evaluate themselves in the mirror, don't they? There's no one else to deal with. So I completely get that. So with that removing of the jargon, making it broker that, key messaging about finance easier. Why do you feel that's so important, and how do you help clients feel that confident with their transactions?
Yeah, I think not coming from the finance industry, in some ways is not my strength, but then in some ways I think it also is my strength, because I think when I've dealt with brokers over the years prior to joining the industry, I think what sometimes is missing, it's almost like when the doctors come and they forget that they're dealing with that on a daily basis, that when you're a client dealing with a broker, you actually don't know what the questions are that you should be asking. You don't know the pieces of information that the brokers know, and little things such as, I know I would always look on Google and look for who was the best bank and what's the cheapest home loan rate, but I have no idea that it went on what your equity is in your property, and that pricing ranges are different with each lender, even just based on that alone. And I think those little things like that are really where it demonstrates that there's just this huge knowledge gap between everyday Australians and people that have been submersed in the finance industry for such a long time. And for me, I felt that that was a real opportunity to kind of bring everyday conversation and really simplifying and filling those gaps almost ahead of time for those people that don't know what they should be asking.
Yeah, no, very good. And you're exactly right. I've come from a hospitality background before coming into finance, and I was very lucky to get my journey there through Aussie Home Loans. But the thing that does hit you quite quickly is the jargon, the bits and pieces people assume and I think you're exactly right. The way you break it down and utilizing your background to ask those questions and simplify it for your customers is a testament to you, and you can definitely see in your customer feedback too. Your customers really value that way you approach that. So well done for that. Looking at your customers and your range of customers. So obviously you've got first home buyers, you're looking after investors, you do some SMSF, business owners. How do you tailor your advice? How do you, I suppose, make your approach different? Is there any insights into that, to how you make people think beyond just their next loan or what they're currently in?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I think what it really comes down to is it's not even about the finance. It's about the understanding of that person and what their journey is that they're going on. And I think everybody's situation in life is so different. And even, when I'm looking at commercial clients, what one person's life situation is compared to the next client's life situation is just so different. And I think taking the time to actually just talk about things that are not even finance related and actually get that really solid understanding of where that person is in their life and where is it that they're wanting to go and what does that community look like around them and that support that they have as well. I think that's where the real pieces of gold are when you're trying to build those relationships with those people. And also you can identify where there are gaps in their community as well, to think beyond just what the finance is that you're helping them with, and what are the other things that they also need professional help with.
Yeah, very, very nice. And obviously, anyone who follows you on social media can tell that you're very good at making connections and relationships quickly, but also ensuring that it's two-way street and you're adding value back. That's obviously very important to you, and I think you shared before around your background of working with non-for-profit and charity organizations. Maybe that's also come through from that. So you've really been able to enhance your strengths and add value back. So well done to you, and thank you for being part of Nectar as well. We love working with you and the way you approach it. Working on those relationships, obviously based in Adelaide, but you help customers across Australia. How have you built trust so quickly, and how have you built those relationship referrals and also still run your business and obviously have a young family as well? How do you fit it all in, Amy?
How do I fit it in is a great question. I think understanding what the priorities are, and I think sometimes a deadline on someone's finance application is a priority. Certain things at my son's school is a priority. And so I think for me, it's about having that regular, I do the planning session with myself on a daily basis, and then I check back in at the end of the day, and I'm making sure that anything that's coming up, whether it's, the next day, the next week, the next month, I've got it in my, it's in my horizon, and I know that it's coming, and I'm and you have to, in this industry, you have to continually be able to pivot because what you think you're doing today can end up being something completely different. But you know, the industry is an amazing industry, and I think when you do plan ahead as much as you can have a really balanced lifestyle, and you can really balance that family versus working.
Not fantastic. And I think another thing that I think you think is normal, but I can tell is not normal, is that you share a lot about yourself, your personal journey, your insights, and you're not scared to ask the question. I think that's a huge testament and a big learning for anyone trying to start a business, right? You can't bluff people; they'll see through it. You got to be genuine, and you have that in spades. So hats off to you for that. It's really
Thank
really
you.
inspiring. Um, just quickly back on the branding. So, launching a brand, now being 2 years, now opening an office, which I'll let you touch on. That's a huge amount happening in a short period of time. Um, Anything looking back, what are the biggest challenges? What have you enjoyed the most? And any, I suppose, insights or things people could learn from that journey that you've had?
I think I've loved every second of it. I think you know, it's easy to say in hindsight, if I knew this, I would have done this differently. But honestly, I think I would probably have just done everything the same way, because I have enjoyed every single step of it along the way. I think the hardest challenge is being new. Because I moved from Brisbane to Adelaide. I essentially came to a whole new state, put myself in a completely new industry. So I was really starting everything from scratch. There was nothing in my life that was a constant or a familiar. I'd also just gone through like a marriage breakdown and separation too at the same time. But I had just arrived at this place where I was just so ready to back myself and just go all in, that I was almost at the point where I just had to keep going. And I think for the last 2 years, that's probably been my mentality of just keep going, putting one foot in front of the other. And I think, you know, there's a little bit of luck in there. There's a little bit of being strategic about some of the things that I've done, a little bit of just being really humble and being able to admit when I don't know something, and, you know, surround myself with really incredible people and be willing to learn from them and ask questions and take advice from them and apply it in the most awkwardest of ways, where sometimes I do it and think that was a complete stuff up. And but you know, it's probably been the way I've learned the quickest in making the most mistakes.
Yeah, the harder you practice, the luckier you get. I don't think the luck has been just there. I think you've created it, and you've just kept going and pushing forward, and you've been able to ask questions and surround yourself with good people. So very, 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 very powerful insights there. You mentioned before, obviously, new industry, couple of years. We all know to join the industry, you need to have your qualifications, and then you have to choose your mentor, and then you obviously have to choose your support network. Can you talk us through that, I suppose, around the mentoring, the journey, any insights there on someone who maybe potentially wants to look to be a broker, what to look for, maybe some stuff you discovered the hard way or the long way, anything you could help with anyone who might be listening to this that wanted to become a broker?
Yeah, I think a broker mentor relationship is something that's not transactional. It's something that, you know, you need to be able to lean on that, but you also need to be prepared with what it is that you want to gain from that as well. And I was really fortunate with Manisha that, you know, when I caught up with her, I knew that we were going to be able to have that relationship where I could be really honest with her about the things that I was needing supporting. And, you know, sometimes it wasn't even about anything to do with broking. Sometimes it was just we would jump on a call and I might be, you know, saying, you know what, I just feel really flat this week and I'm going to close this laptop and I'm going to go watch a TV show and then I'm going to come back to this tomorrow. But sometimes it was just having that mental support to be able to have that conversation with, and somebody that actually understands the industry, understands the challenges. And sometimes, you know, sometimes it's just that, you know, it's timelines. Sometimes somebody can come to you today and, you know, they're wanting an approval tomorrow for something, and you may have to go with a lender that can't turn that around that quickly. You know, and there may be all these factors of things that you actually can't influence anymore than you already you have. You're just having to kind of be patient and go through the motions. But yeah, I think with mentor, don't pick the first person that you meet with. Don't look at it as a transactional thing. It really has to be a two-way relationship, and you have to be able to be honest with that mentor as well. I think, first of all, you're paying for it, so you need to be getting the benefit out of it. But there's no point turning up to a meeting and saying, everything's fine, I've done everything, and then you're actually not progressing when that person could be helping you.
No, you've nailed it. Definitely. There's a lot of mentors that come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and engagement levels and etc. But getting someone that you gel with and you understand and they understand you, and as you said before, knowing what you want to get out of it, really important. And being able to be yourself with them and then grow to where you need to get to. So extremely important. And if anything, probably the most important, right? You got to choose the right mentor. The aggregator is also important, but the mentor is more important, I would say. So.
Yeah, and I think for me, my mentor had an offshore loan processing company as well. And I knew that coming new into the industry, for me, the technical aspect was where I was really going to need that support. And there were times where I was able to then work with my mentor and the team that they had. And, I definitely had some conversations with experienced brokers over the time that said to me that I shouldn't be using outsourcing support so soon, and that I should be doing the deals myself so that I'm using it as a learning experience. But for me, when I look at where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are, my strengths are really in the people and the connections and the, following that bouncy ball and the journey with the clients, not necessarily doing the data entry and the input. And I think the insights that really gave me was that I gave myself that permission to be able to say, I'm not going to do every single piece of this myself. And yes, maybe I'm not making as much profit from the beginning, but it allowed me that space to kind of work through the deals as they were coming through. And also, there's so many different structures to deals that every time a new deal I worked through with the outsourcing company, I then was able to use that as a template for how that next deal would be structured if that was to come through again.
Oh, fantastic. And I think another key message there is that you've built through self-awareness and knowing what you want to get to. You've done broker that as a brand that's not connected to your name, so it can be scaled. You've got outsourcing, which obviously allows you to then scale further. And then you've also got the plans in place where you're building and, moved into an office, and you've got all the right blocks in place. It's now just building that momentum and staying focused and keeping moving forward. So Amy, it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. Working on the industry today and I suppose where we're heading, you touched on it before about different scenarios and things happening, etc. What sort of conversations are you having with clients today that are different from when you first started? And we've seen a lot of stuff with the budget and SMS lending and etc. How do you see that panning out? Where do you see the opportunities for yourself and your business and your customers?
Yeah, I think lending is obviously, even just in the 2 years since I joined the industry, like myself, I've seen the change in just how complex, deals are becoming. I don't think I've had two deals that have been exactly the same structure. Everybody's pay slips are different. There's lots of conversations around, will clients go direct to the bank and use, banks AI, and will that eliminate the need for brokers? But I think, people still need that human connection. People still want somebody to tell them they're doing the right thing along the way, and to make sure that, they're maximizing the opportunities that are available to them in front of them. And I think, I see them from the conversations that I have with my clients. I see sometimes that what they come to me thinking they want is not often what we end up getting them, or we may sometimes say, let's look at this as a stepping stone to get to what that thing is that you're actually initially looking to do. And I think, especially at the moment with the warehouse prices, have been growing. I know they're starting to slow down a little bit at the moment, but the clients that we've dealt with previously, we've really, had to change the mindset and the expectations of some clients, especially first home buyers, where we've had to look at, well, you're either going to have to move further out of the city, which, when they're working in the city sometimes can be hard for them to do, or they need to look at potentially something that's not going to be their forever home as their first purchase.
Yep, no, definitely. And it's an evolving landscape and it's changing quickly, isn't it? So staying humble, like you mentioned before, and continue to learn and help your customers is very, very, very important. Um, Looking ahead, Amy, what excites you most? Obviously, right now, the excitement's the 2-year anniversary and the birthday and the the fantastic balloon and the office. There's a lot happening there. What's next for you, the next few years and on the horizon for you?
Yeah, this is a great question. And it's something I've been thinking about recently. And I think, it's so easy to get ahead of yourself and think, I want to have all these clients and I have all these big goals. But I think for me, it's really about keeping the core focus of what Broker That is about. It's about really simple finance. It's about the education for the clients and being able to have that personable relationship with people. For me, I want to keep a business that's lean. I don't want it to grow too big. So yeah, we've now got our foundation here in the Adelaide CBD, and I think it's just about doing more of what we've been doing and really continuing to build those solid foundations and just kind of the relationships that we have.
Fantastic. And also, I know, Amy, that you always go back to your values, you know what I mean? Your transparency and your trust, your empathy and your education, the way you portray yourself and the way you live them is an absolute testament to you, because it sometimes can get lost as you grow and you get under pressure. But having worked with you, I know that you always keep that center of what you do. So well done and congratulations on all your success. And thank you for choosing and partnering with Nectar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
England or Australia in the World Cup? Who are you supporting?
Well, I'm scared to answer this question.
You can say I don't like football if you like.
I love soccer. It's my
Okay.
favorite sport. And when I moved from Brisbane to Adelaide, the first question I was asked is, who's your footy team? And my
Yes.
question was, are we talking AFL or soccer? Because, to me, footy is soccer. But yeah, I think it has to be England, right?
It's definitely it's good because it shows you loyal to your roots. So that's good.
Well, I mean, look, talent's talent. And, Australia are great, but I think England are ready.
Well, my kids are very confused because obviously you can tell by my twang I've got the South African, I've got a British passport and I'm Australian. So my kids have hedged all their bets. They've got all the jumpers. So
They've got a bit of everything.
thank you so much, Amy. I know you're really busy and you're in the middle of the celebrations. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure whoever's been listening to this will get some value from it. We'll let you get back to your day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. See you.
See you, Amy.